All right. What's up, guys? AceTech here. Today we're going to be doing the Beef Brigade Gamers Podcast number 6. I got a couple guests here. Same, two guests we always have. Introduce yourself.
All right, what's up, guys? This is Mitch Eckstrand. Been here a couple times, and tonight we're plugging into Jesus. So get out your Bibles, because we're plugging into Jesus. Not games tonight, guys. It's all about Jesus.
Yep. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
And then we have Matt, the dingus, over here, not doing anything.
In a world with 3 video game nerds, they're gonna bitch about games that don't deserve awards. Like Her Story. What the fuck is this game?
It's a groundbreaking narrative-based game.
But what is it? I don't even know. It's just like, story, blah, blah, blah. Follow her story.
It looks like you get to play a cop. Like, you get to sit in your fucking chair and be dumb and click through databases and be a stupid idiot.
It's like a complete ripoff of L.A. Noire. You're just sitting in a pencil and you're just like...
It's the less glorious side of L.A. Noire.
Oh, man.
It's all... You play his secretary. You play his secretary.
Place in the 90s, not the...
Yeah, you play his secretary in L.A. Noire.
Not the 50s, the 90s.
L.A. Ghetto. That'd be
L.A. Ghetto.
LA Ghetto.
All right.
It is.
All
What
right.
you're talking about first, Fallout 4?
Yeah, let's talk about the Game Awards real quick.
All right.
I know, Matt, you don't think Splatoon deserved to have best multiplayer game?
No, I think there are 2 games that ahead of it that deserved it more, and I think that's Destiny: The Taken King, which anybody who knows me well, I'm not a huge fan of Destiny, although I just got Destiny: The Taken King a few days ago, and I think it's great now. And the other one, more deservingly, would be Halo 5 Guardians. I mean, I think it's the worst Halo game in the franchise. I gave it like a 7 out of 10, which is the lowest I've ever given a Halo game. But its multiplayer, I thought, was the best it's ever been in years. I think it's the best multiplayer this year. Yeah.
Okay. It also won best shooter. Do you agree with that, or?
Best shooter, I agree with far less, to be honest. Best shooter? Best multiplayer, I would agree with more because Splatoon is a multiplayer dedicated game. Best shooter,
There is a campaign as well. So.
Yeah, but but you said it yourself. It's really short and kind of like
about 6 hours. About the size of Halo 5's campaign.
Okay, but I'm looking at the nominees. Best shooter, I honestly would agree again that I'd say Halo 5 Guardians would have it number 1, and then it's hard for me to say after that because the other ones, I don't know. I'd probably say Splatoon maybe number 2 or 3, but I still think Halo 5 Guardians is more deserving over that.
All right, I can't argue too much on that.
I didn't play Splatoon, but from watching the gameplay, I think that it probably did so well because it was so much more different than
it's unique.
games in the past.
Yeah,
I
can
for
say
for the past 5 or 6 years, they've just there's been COD and Halo and Battlefield, and just over and over and over again, and they've been picking between those 3. And then Splatoon comes along, it's way different. It's really unique. And I think that's why it did so well. Is people like that it went away from the grain and it brought in this new sort of way of having a multiplayer shooter game.
Yeah, that I do definitely agree with. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that its mechanics weren't the best. I feel like there's a lot of games on the Wii U that I honestly feel would have been better if they had been made for a GameCube type of game, because the controller is what is the biggest thing that I think is a letdown with the Wii U. Although I love the gamepad, I also hate it at the same time because it feels really weird, and uncomfortable, and clunky. It's the button placement doesn't feel natural to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in some cases with the gamepad. I actually really like it. With an RPG like Xenoblade Chronicles X that just came out last week, I don't have to open up a bunch of different menus. I got the world map right down there, like right in front of my face. All I got to do is look down, and I can just touch a place on the map. I can instantly fast travel to it. So there are a lot of different good things about the gamepad. But there are some really bad things about the gamepad. Like the battery life, it only lasts for like 3.5 hours. That's
right, yeah.
pretty bad. And I think the button placement is actually pretty good. It's very standard for Nintendo. If you look at the GameCube controller, or the the how they have the buttons placed on their handhelds, like the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS, and the 3DS. It's very standard for the most part. So I think it's just really getting used to the gamepad, and getting used to the motion controls in some of the games.
Right.
Which that can change your opinion.
Right. I'm still gonna say though that of the Nintendo DSs, my favorite would probably be the original Nintendo DS because of its button layout. After that, I didn't really like the C stick thing. I didn't like the button placement.
The circle pad, it's a hit or miss. It does have a D-pad as well, so if that's something you want to use, and it's there for you.
Oh yeah. I do like that. It's just I didn't like that. Although I will say that they're all superior to the PS Vita, which I think is the most uncomfortable handheld console or whatever I've ever used.
Also one of the worst selling handheld consoles.
Yeah,
but we won't get into that. We won't get into that.
Back to the Game Awards.
Right.
We talked about this a bit before we started recording, but Witcher 3 and CD Projekt Red kind of swept house this year. Got Game of the Year, Developer of the Year, and RPG of the Year. You guys think that's well deserved?
Yeah, I think everybody saw this coming like within the first week or like the first few days of the game being out. That this game was going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of the year at no matter what awards. I've never heard of the Game Awards before. I've heard of the Spike TV Game Awards. I don't know if that's like the same thing or a different thing. I don't know. I don't pay attention to video game awards that much. I watch the Oscars, but speaking of this, I think it's well deserved. I think that game is incredible. The only thing that I ever bitch about with that game is its game mechanics, which I think are some of the clunkiest and hardest I've ever played. But as far as the story and immersiveness go, and it's so smooth and crisp, that game is great. It's so much content in it, and then how CD Projekt Red handled its game, how it directed it, and also how it treats its audience.
Yeah, they're a great developer. They don't leave anything out. They give you the whole game. They're not one to do a lot of DLCs sort of stuff. Once they have a game done, they give you the whole thing, and there's no more they're going to add to it. And that kind of speaks to how they're trying to change the way it is right now in the industry, where they don't give you the whole game. But I was surprised that Phantom Pain didn't get. They got one award for.
It got two.
Yeah,
it got two awards.
Is it two?
Best score and best voice actor, right?
No, I got best score and I got best action adventure game, which I agree with. I would say it's because it's really weird to pinpoint exactly what Metal Gear Solid 5 is.
Feels kind of like an RPG.
Is it a role-playing game or is it an action game? But I would
weird.
I'd say it's more of an action game.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably
because it has RPG-esque like characteristics. Because it's somewhat open world, you can pick what you do, but it's also kind of contained in it's weird when you play it. It's a lot different than the rest of the games out.
Right, and let's take a look at what the Game of the Year, the other nominees were, because it's a hard list. I will say that, except for Super Mario Maker, which I think is kind of just like a little nudge for Nintendo. But as far as Game of the Year go, Bloodborne, Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, Super Mario Maker, and The Witcher 3. If you really think about it, what's going to be the next choice? I know there's a lot of hardcore Fallout fans who would say it's going to be Fallout. It would definitely have been Fallout. I honestly think that Metal Gear Solid 5 would have gotten as the runner-up. Not that Fallout 4 isn't a great game. It definitely is. But this was a tough list for this year, so you can't really go wrong with any of these choices. Because I know that Bloodborne is an amazing game as well.
Bloodborne is amazing, but I think it's been overlooked by a lot of people. Yeah, I think they've just kind of they heard about it, then they never play it or really look at it. And once you if you watch gameplay or you watch somebody play, it's really cool, interesting. Like the combat system is a lot like Dark Souls. So if you like Dark Souls, this is the same. Yeah. And I mean, it's as hard, maybe even harder than Dark Souls, which are considered some of the hardest games made for the 360 and consoles. So I mean. It is a hard list when you say that. I think that if I were to pick a second one, I'd pick Fallout 4 just because I love Fallout. But I mean, I think the Phantom Pain and Fallout are really close. for me. They could go
Right.
either way, but I don't think Bloodborne would ever place at second, just because it's a very specific audience, I think, that plays that game.
Right, right. In the thing that I have to say is, you didn't end up beating Phantom Pain, did you?
I didn't beat it all the way, no. I got through
I
most of it.
and I didn't. I didn't end up beating Fallout 4. So I mean, my opinion could change if I beat Fallout 4. But I did love Fallout 4. I just there was nothing there that really gripped me into it to say, hey, you got to play this for hours.
I also love Fallout 4 a lot, but there are some things that aren't great about this game that they changed that I don't like a lot.
Yeah,
All
there's.
right, so how about we talk about Fallout 4 now, since we're already talking about that.
Okay, like the first big change that I didn't like is they did like full main character dialogue. So in the other older games, you'd have, and same with like the Elder Scroll games, is you'd have a list of dialogue and you could pick. You wouldn't hear your character say it, then the other character would respond to it. And this one they did like a four-choice wheel, like they did in the Mass Effect games. You could pick one, and it was a brief summary, and then he'd give the full dialogue. And the only problem with that is that it's just that it makes the whole like dialogue system kind of wonky, and it's pretty buggy in this game, to be honest. There's a lot of times, because they also added this thing where if you walk up to a character, it'll automatically initiate a dialogue, and a lot of times it doesn't work. You gotta tap A or whatever system you're on a bunch of times for the dialogue to start, and even then it's kind of weird, and there'll be weird pauses. And the whole system's kind of wonky because they tried to make it like more like launching you in, or getting you into the game and into the dialogue, and it was just really buggy and wasn't very good.
Right, yeah, I definitely got to agree with that on the dialogue. But at the same time, I also really like that. Like in Mass Effect, yeah, I really like that. It's just the lip sync on it was really, it kind of felt off. Like a lot of the words didn't line up with how the mouths moved. And like, yeah, I know exactly that problem Mitch is talking about, where if you try to initiate a conversation with someone, it won't always immediately do it, and you have to keep pressing the button. I mean, that annoyed me.
And also there'll be weird parts where like in the middle of a dialogue, they'll just stop talking, and there'll be a really long pause, and then they'll like leave, and then they'll start the conversation again. I think it just
I heard
it's just buggy coding or something.
I heard the lip syncing was off. Is that true?
Yeah,
that's
it's not always on.
Yeah, I mean, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, I mentioned that game came out last week. That game's a Japanese game, so all the dialogue would have been in Japanese. So yeah, the lip flaps are off quite a bit, but that's in a sense kind of warranted.
Yeah.
Another thing that they got rid of in Fallout 4 that people didn't like a lot was the karma system. So there used to be like doing certain like acts, could be anything, could increase or decrease your karma, and they completely got rid of that and then replaced it with like a like and dislike system. But it only affected it only affected it only affected your companions. So like before you could steal something that lower your karma, and then throughout the game that could hurt you with settler or just random NPCs. If your karma is lower, then they may not want to do certain things for you. They just got rid of that whole thing, so you could just murder a bunch of people and then go talk to the person's friends, and then they wouldn't even care. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I didn't even understand it because I never saw it take effect at all. It'd just be like, Nick Valentine disapproves, and I'd just be like, shut the fuck up. What the hell are you gonna do, man?
The only thing is that
like,
if you piss them off enough, then they won't follow you anymore. And if they like you enough, then you can like marry them. So I mean that's like the one. So like if Nick Valentine really liked you, you could like marry up Nick Valentine and have like weird cyborg kids or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was like overall I liked the story of it was great. I liked it. It was cool, but there was just some minor changes that I think they're trying to like revamp it. The one thing they did really well though is the combat, like the shooting, first person shooting, but better than it's ever been in any Fallout game before.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
And the one thing people didn't like was like in the older games, power armor, you could just wear it, run around with it, use it. In this game, they added fusion cores that you need to find, like ammo, to run it, because the power armor in this game is way bigger, It's a full suit. You're probably like 8 feet when you're in it, and it's
Yeah.
way more powerful in this game. But you also can't use it all the time unless you just have like an abundance of fusion cores that you console commanded on PC or something. If you're cheating, if you want or something. But I mean, it's cool, but it's also kind of annoying because I have them. I have these power suits, but I never really want to use them because I don't want to use my fusion cores. So I rarely ever use my power armor. They kind of just sit, at my base that I built, or whatever you want to call it. Which is another thing I added was the workshop, which is awesome. It was great.
Yeah, the workshop I really like, but the one thing I thought Fallout 4 did so terribly on, and I think is the worst thing about it, is it didn't tell you at all how to use the system at all.
It didn't give you much, no. It gave you
I was so confused about, wait, where do I put this? How far can I put this away from something? And what components do I need to use in between it?
And something that I just found out recently, that I saw, I saw it on Reddit, like the power lines. So there's generators in the game, and you can run power lines to, power lights and stuff. And then there's also pylons, so you can raise wires, and if you want them higher above ground, so almost like power lines you see on streets, you can run them kind of like that. And apparently on those wires you can attach light bulbs, which I never knew until just a while ago. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that people just start figuring out because Bethesda didn't really tell anybody how to do anything. I don't know if that was intentionally or...
I feel like that wasn't intentionally because... I really don't think it was, because that doesn't exactly make much sense, because that leaves for so much or so little content to be explained that I think a lot of people, including myself, would just get bored after a while of trying to figure out how to do one simple thing, like how to hook up a generator or how to hook it up to to a water purifier. And I thought, if you remember when we were playing, it took me hours to figure out, like an entire day, to figure out how to hook up my industrial water purifier. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is the workshop is cool and it's great, and you can scrap things, but it's also within a confined area. I originally thought you could run around and just scrap the whole entire world, which would have been cool.
Yeah.
You can only scrap within the confined area that you're in, but you can also link other settlements to each other. You can set up a trade or supply lines. You can get NPCs to run supplies back and forth. So I mean, that can help pool your resources together. But even then, steel becomes very, very rare in the game after a while, because once you build up one area pretty well, you don't have much steel for anywhere else. It becomes really, really rare to find. And there's other things like copper, and the one thing I can't find right now, I can't find any damn oil anywhere, which pisses me off, because you need oil to make upgrades to power suits. You need oil to make modifications to weapons and other things. And there's a system in the game where you can quote unquote order supplies from vendors and then deliver them to you. But I mean, that's 1,000 caps, and they give you 25 screws, so it's not even worth it.
I think what Bethesda was trying to do is that with every other element in the game, this game I would say is probably the easiest Fallout game, but by far is the most fun. But if they got rid of that boundary, that salvage boundary zone, they would feel like the game would become so easy that people would feel like there's no challenge to the game, because you can just go out, scrap everything for hours, and then there you go, you have absolutely everything you'd ever need in just a few hours of just scrapping an entire forest.
And I know another reason why they did that is the way that it's set up. They have it set up on a polygon system. The way that when you place objects into the environment, it takes up a certain amount of space. So there's a size counter, and it's set up on a polygon system. So there's some areas that are bigger, it can hold more things. So I think that the way that they coded the game was so that you couldn't build too big, so that consoles could still handle that amount of stuff you're placing in one area.
I think, honestly, what would have, and I'm thinking about this in my mind actively, is what would have worked better for the salvage system in Fallout 4 is you go into a top-down view screen, kind of using an Oracle in, or what the fuck were they, in Forge and Halo, and you go into a top-down view and you have a painter. So you have a giant like a bubble that you can spread to gain all these different things you want to scrap, rather than going one by one by one with every single thing. I thought that was way too much work for something that's so small.
And it almost felt like something that they maybe like threw on at the end. Like maybe they just thought like, hey, what if we added this element and then people could build stuff? Because it was good, but it also felt like it was kind of a last-minute addition to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And one annoying thing is that not everything can be scrapped, which is there's some things that are permanent placements. Like there's bushes and stuff that will grow in some places that you can't delete, but they're the most annoying thing because you can't build anything around it. So it gets really annoying after a while. And some of the placements, like not everything can be placed directly into the ground. You have to place like foundation first if you want to have a flat surface. So, I mean, if you want to, you can get really into it, and you can look up. Some people have built some crazy things. And there's one thing. I don't know if you've seen that, but you know the Starlight drive-in mat, the place that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You can power that up, right? And then you can, with crystals, you can make your own animated displays on it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And there's this one guy I saw that made a giant animated dick.
I can imagine they did.
It was pretty funny. But I mean,
I'm gonna look that up.
In terms of like
dick.
In terms of Fallout 4, the story. Now, I mean, I don't know if you want.
You weren't joking.
No, it's a real thing.
The Tower of Flesh looms over all.
Here, I'll.
What?
All right, I'm not gonna look that up, but
Okay, and they're playing what's the name, Mitch? What's the name of this Phil Collins song we listen to all the time? What is it?
The I can feel
that one.
coming in the air tonight. Let's see if I can find it so I can screen share it.
Yeah, this is funny.
No, but in terms of like the Fallout 4 story, it was a lot different than. Here, I found something. It was a lot different than the other Fallout games. It was way more. This game felt way more. It felt way more narrative based than the other Fallout games before. It was way more driven by the story than anything else. But like when you get brought into the game, a lot of things happen that kind of set up the story. But right when you get out of the vault, it doesn't really make you go into the rest of the main storyline. You just kind of get dropped into the wasteland, and which is the only weird thing is that they set up this whole narrative and this whole thing that you're searching for and hunting for, and then as soon as you get out, you don't really have to do it. So it felt kind of weird that they would build all of it up, and then as soon as you get out, you could go hours without ever doing the main story.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of games, they make you do like the first mission or the first two missions, and then you can go do what you want. This one, you get out, and you could never play the main story effectively. You don't really need to. You can do whatever you want without playing it effectively.
Honestly, what I have to say about Fallout 4 is that I thought its intro was the most anticlimactic ever. Like I felt thousands times more hooked into Fallout 3's beginning, and like Fallout 4 I thought had such great potential, and then it just turned into a massive cliche. Oh, my wife gets killed, my son's missing, the entire game. Time to go find my son. Oh, what? My son is an adult? What?
My son is actually 60? Whoa, he's older than me, and he runs the thing that I don't like? The institute that makes the cyborgs? What the fuck? But
yeah, I was like, what?
The one thing I like and dislike is that they made multiple endings in this game. Like, I like multiple endings, but to play them, you'll have to play through, like, another character. There's 4 possible endings, because there's 5 major factions. There's the Brotherhood of Steel, the Minutemen, the Gunners, the Railroad, and the Institute. Only 4 of them you can beat the game through, because the Gunners are in the game, but you can't join them, which I don't know why. They're just kind of there, and they're annoying. They're like a mercenary outfit. They're like the Brotherhood of Steel, but they're more fucking annoying, and they just show up all the time and try to murder you for no reason. And then the rest of them, the Minutemen is the first one you meet, or the first faction you meet in the game. Then there's the Railroad, which is kind of like this weird fucking like you have to go through this stupid convoluted path in the middle of the town, and you have to like remember words to then open up a fucking secret door to meet them. And they're a bunch of fucking weirdos, but they do have one cool gun that shoots railway spikes. That's one of the most OP guns in the game. Then there's the Brotherhood of Steel, which is just brought back from Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. And they're sweet. They have a giant flying ship called the Pridwin. They come in. They're pretty fun to play through, which is the one that I beat the game with. Then there's the Institute, who make the synths, or the cyborgs. You don't really know much about them until the end of the game.
I thought the Institute was going to be so much more dramatic, and when it came down to it, I was like, eh. I thought the synths were not that cool.
Well, do you know the plot twist with Danes?
With what?
You know the plot twist with Danes?
Yeah, he's a synth.
He's a synth, yeah. That was kind of cool. But I mean, so you can pick. I did the Brotherhood of Steel, and basically, you go in there, go in the Institute, tell your dad or your son, who's called Father in this game, to fuck off, and you can kill him or he dies. He gets sick and dies, or you could kill him. I killed him because I thought it was funny.
You want to know what?
And then you leave, and then you just blow the shit out of the whole place, and then it's done. And the cool thing is that in the other games, once you beat the game, it was done. You're done with the game. This one, you beat the main story, and you get the experience for it. But then you keep playing, which is kind of cool. So you can keep playing afterwards and do the other stuff. But I started another character on the PC, and I'm gonna do the Institute this time, just to see what that's like. But I know one of our friends, Jacob. He's played through 3 of the 4 now, I think. He's gone through Brotherhood of Steel, Railroad, and the Institute, and he's gonna do the Minutemen now. So, I mean, it's kind of cool. So you have a couple choices you can make on how you want to beat the game, and just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I actually kind of wanted to ask about the PC version. On Metacritic, it has a 5.4 user score out of 10. Is it like any different than the console versions? Because the console versions have a much higher score.
I don't think so. I think PC kids just shit on games a lot. I mean, if anything, I would have thought that the PC would have garnered a higher score because
there's so much more you can do with a PC.
Yeah, and it isn't capped, right? So
yeah, and there's so much more that you can do. Bethesda supports the PC community so like.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
so much. Like
they're opening up, and like the one thing is that if you were to mod a game in the past, it was pretty difficult to do. Even with like tools like Nexus Mod Manager and stuff like that, you still have to change some of you change a lot of files within the game to identify certain mods that you make. For Fallout 4. All you had to do was go in and change 2 lines of code. You had to add like 2 words to one, and you had to change one value, and boom, it'd recognize any mod you want. So they're all for the modification of their games. With the Steam workshop for Skyrim that blew up, and people made a bunch of money off that. And Bethesda said they're going to launch the Fallout 4 one. I think it said spring of 2016. So
yeah,
I mean, if anything, and there's a lot of things that are in this game, a lot of things that are missing, or things that I think they could have added. And even with mods now, there's hundreds of mods you can still get, and people adding stuff, especially things to Workshop that you can build. Like people added like Brotherhood of Steel stuff and Institute things that you can build. And so I mean, there's a lot of things that they didn't add, but a lot of things that the modders are adding. And that's one thing, is that they're all for mods to their games.
Hey, Mitch, you were talking about games with multiple endings earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this just popped in my head, but you should look this up because you're going to laugh your ass off, is Silent Hill 2 dog ending.
What happens?
Just watch. It's just, watch this, you're going to laugh your ass off real quick. Just watch it for like the first minute. Just, all you got to do, watch it for 50 seconds, and what I wanted to say about the PC games is the fact is, like, what did you say the Metacritic user score is?
5.4.
Yeah. When it comes to PC gamers, I just think that they don't give a shit. Like they want to shit on everything for some fucking reason. I don't even understand. So a lot of times I dismiss a lot of talking about PC gamers because to me it's just gamer. Because
You're the master race, man.
yeah. Yeah, Mitch, that's one of the endings to Silent Hill 2. It's one of the most critically acclaimed games ever, by the way.
It's the dog barking like a song.
Yeah, basically.
Fucking hilarious. Oh my god. No, but like in terms of the Metacritic score, a lot of people didn't like Fallout 4 because I think it got caught up in the hype, and then people were like disappointed with like maybe things that they changed or what they. I think a lot of people expected that it was going to be like Fallout 3, and Bethesda didn't want to make Fallout 3 again. They wanted to make something different, and I don't know why that user score is so low because like the critic
And
score.
it's only the PC version.
Yeah, but the critic score is so high for regardless of the platform. So I don't know what users found so wrong with it. From me playing it, I don't. The only difference I notice is that it runs better on the PC than on my Xbox One. On the One, it happened to me a couple times, but there'll be times when it crashes because
Really?
it's just too much. I think for.
I heard about the game just completely stopping at some points, like when you're switching, like going in between towns or something. The game will just stop for a split second,
And
like go down to 0 frames per second, and then just start going again. Like that's.
I don't know if that's. I haven't noticed that yet on PC, but there've been some times on the One where it would crash, and there were some like game-breaking bugs in this game, but they've been patched. But
All right.
I'm reading these reviews right now, and
What are you doing over there, Matt?
a lot of people
I
are
don't
just
know.
are saying it's not as good as Fallout 3. And a lot of people said that the narrative wasn't as good as Fallout New Vegas, because Fallout New Vegas, for a lot of people, had the best narrative in the series.
Yeah, I would agree with all of the above. The only thing that I think Fallout 4 has above 3 and New Vegas is game mechanics.
Yeah, and definitely the first-person shooting aspect.
Yeah. Everything else, I think, is subpar.
If you're to play Fallout 3 and then hop onto Fallout 4, it would be night and day in the way that you shoot and fight.
Par.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just people were expecting so much, and then.
I think the game got caught up in the hype. Like I love the game. I think it's great. I think it's a great addition.
Here's what I say. My hype for this game was not that great because this game was only just announced a few months ago. For me, that's always a red flag for me. Is that when a game is announced just a few months before it's released, I know that they want to chill the anticipation just a little bit, but you gotta have a little bit of some time for it to set in people's mind. And I also think that there needs to be that more of a guarantee that, hey, we're putting more time into this game. To me, it kind of makes me almost say that maybe this game's development period wasn't as big as people say it was.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I can just look at the game and say that it doesn't really look too much better than Fallout 3 from what I've seen gameplay-wise.
It does look better, but I will say it's not.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Not even in my
better,
top 10.
Different. Like it doesn't look too much different. Like when I look at, like, I'm gonna use this example. Like when I look at Super Smash Bros. Brawl, came out on the Wii in 2008. And then I look at Smash Bros. For Wii U that came out last year, 2014. The difference is immediate right away. That game had a very long, development cycle. And that difference just isn't apparent in Fallout 3. Or Fallout 4.
For Fallout 4, it was 7 years, quote-unquote, development time, but 4 years actively working on it. So the first 3 years was like pre-development work. They did switch engines between the two, obviously. They brought a new engine into it.
I'll compare another game. Xenoblade Chronicles X, that game had a 4-year development cycle.
Here's the thing.
And when I compare those two games, looking at the original Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii compared to Xenoblade Chronicles X, night and day. You see what I'm saying?
And I do know that they did switch. They're on a new engine than they've used in the past, so they reworked their coding to accommodate this new engine. So it might have been a thing where they're just not sure how to fully utilize the new engine that they have.
And
if you look at it, like because on console, if you're looking at that, it's not a good way to compare the two. But if you compare like Fallout 3 on PC to Fallout 4 on PC, there is a noticeable difference in just how it looks aesthetically and the output of it. On console isn't a good comparison just because Bethesda's always capped their games at 720/30 just to make sure that it runs smooth.
And if
I think it's in 1080, isn't it?
Not on console, it's 720.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, it was actually said that Xbox, and a lot of these, not just Xbox, but a lot of these, what are they called? The console developers, whatever, didn't announce their consoles to developers until I believe it was a few months, or like 6 months to a year, before it was released. So, or not before it was released, before it was announced. To me, that doesn't seem like a lot of time to be able to come up with a game. Now, obviously, it's been a few years since, almost 3 years since consoles were released. But to me, I would say that the minimum development cycle for a game should be 4 to 5 years, six even. But I always say that, the more development put into a game, the better, because it's a video game. It's not like a movie. A development cycle for a movie is, in my opinion, 3 years. But that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I don't know if is equate development time to making a better game. I feel like if you get too long in developing it, then you start to change things that maybe you don't like, and then you start to fall away from the intent of what you're trying to make originally. I think I would say 5 years is probably a good time, but even depending on how you do it, 3 to 4 years could be good. But I think if you spend if you're a developer and you're on the Fallout 4 team and you spend 7 years working on the same game, I mean, eventually you're gonna get lost in what you're doing, and you're gonna. I think they're good games, but I think they might spend too long on the games that they make. But they do pack a lot of narrative, not so much in the Fallout games, but in the Elder Scrolls games, they just pack a lot of narrative into those games, which might be why it takes so long to make them. But I think that they may just spend too much time making these games, and they need to shorten that time up.
Right.
Alright, so how much have you guys played of Final Fantasy VII?
I've never played Final Fantasy VII before, but I have played Final Fantasy games. But I have played shitty Final Fantasy games. I played Final Fantasy XIII, which was garbage. The game's garbage.
I agree. Some of the newer Final Fantasy games aren't as good.
No.
But Mitch, have you played 7?
No, but I think it was I played one that was on the Game Boy Advance, which I don't know which one that'd be. It might have been 8, maybe.
Probably not a numerical game. Can't be a numerical game.
8 was
no.
Game Boy.
It was. I'll just look it up.
I know 6. I think
7, 8, 9, and 10 are the 4 games I always hear the best praise of. 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Oh no, I played Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Oh.
It's the only Final Fantasy game I ever played.
That's a very different game. But even if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, I actually recommend it. It's on Steam for I think $20.
$11 I checked last.
$11? Yeah. Even better. So I recommend you guys pick that up. But I've played it. I have the original copy on the original PlayStation, and we got some news. Or actually, we got some footage at PlayStation Experience this last week, and the footage looks amazing. Have you guys seen that trailer?
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks incredible. I will say that.
Oh yeah, it's running on what engine again? Unreal 4.
Yeah, Unreal 4.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good engine. That's a good
engine. Looks great. So
that's a good engine.
It is.
But the only what's the phrase I'm looking for? The only bad thing about it is that you don't like, Eugene. I know you hate it. Is that it's episodic, so it's not a streamlined.
Yeah, I
gameplay.
mean they
I
what they're
feel like
saying what they're saying is that it's going to be a multi-part release and that every part is going to be the size of a full game. But I'm looking at it like, how is every part going to be the size of a full game if you're cutting the full game apart? You know.
Yeah,
So
they're gonna add a bunch of BS probably. So it's gonna
and
be like, what?
their other comment was that we can't fit the whole game onto one package or into one disc. Which I've never seen a game that's 100 gigabytes plus, so I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
But,
because like the Master Chief Collection, which is the biggest disc I've ever seen, that was 65 gigs. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can't fit much more than that on there. But so
Well,
is this
even
gonna
if they
be?
couldn't,
Is this gonna be like Telltale games? Is this gonna be like not the look, but the
no, they
feel of it?
haven't.
Is that how they're
They
gonna
haven't
make it?
said, they
that's
haven't
what I
said much
heard.
about it. Actually, they just showed us the gameplay, and then the next day is when we found out that it was going to be episodic.
And then the whole.
They just said it's going to be episodic, and then they just pulled out like, oh, like, just take
Oh,
that.
by the way, guess what? I fucked your mom last night. Bye.
Oh, by the way, we ruined it. See ya.
But
I'm
don't
your new
know.
dad. Bye.
We had this conversation earlier, kind of, but I know that if like you're a diehard Final Fantasy fan, you'll probably think that's probably the stupidest thing you're ever gonna hear.
well, I mean, it's not just Final Fantasy in general. Personally, I like 6, 7, and 8 the most, but 7 is one that I really like. I have the original copy.
Yeah, I heard 7 was the best.
7 is fantastic. Check it out on Steam. You really need to. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
But,
Josh. Yeah, continue, Eugene. I'll explain in a minute.
yeah, I mean, it's just a super polarizing game. Originally it was going to be on the N64, and then obviously, famously, Nintendo pulled out of the deal with Sony with the disc drive, and obviously went with cartridges. And so Square Enix or SquareSoft at the time, put Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation. And ever since that game came out, it has just blew up. It blew up. It brought JRPGs into the limelight and made people look at Japanese RPGs in a different, way. And up until this, last E3, or actually this E3, people were just clamoring for a Final Fantasy VII Remake. And when I heard it was coming, I got super excited. Just like any other fan of Final Fantasy VII, we got it, really excited. I saw the footage, got super hyped. I was like, okay, gotta get this PS4 immediately. Gotta get on this hype train. Then I hear this news, and I'm like,
not anymore.
okay, so
Yeah,
I just kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about this?
Here's the thing that I'm definitely going to say is that I am familiar with Square Enix. I really am, and I will say Square Enix. I have bitched so much about more so than a lot of other developers, and it's mainly because of how they handled Final Fantasy 13, which. That was the first Final Fantasy game I ever really played. I played that game, first time I ever played that game, I played it for probably 10 minutes, and then I put it down and said, fuck this game. It sucked so bad.
That game is the most linear thing I've ever played.
That game is so bad. I hated that game so much, and I was just like, nope, I'm done. And I stopped playing that game. But the way that they handle their marketing, they're just like a lot of other developers, are only in it for the money. They're doing this whole.
I got something here.
Yeah, Eugene. Yep. No.
I'm just waiting for that copyright. They're gonna put a copyright strike on my channel.
Oh yeah, they're probably gonna.
Right,
No, but I mean,
yeah.
It depends on if it's gonna be episodic. If they're gonna continue to do that, I think it really just depends on how it's done. Like, there's some games that do it pretty well, and some that do it awfully. Like the Walking Dead games, not good. Now, The Wolf Among Us, That was pretty well done for being episodic.
I completely disagree with you about that. The Walking Dead games, I would say, are my favorite episodic
You know,
games.
and I've heard some
I
people
love
say that, that the Walking Dead games were good.
They're
But
amazing.
how do those
They're
play?
amazing.
Are those an RPG? Because obviously Final Fantasy VII is an RPG.
No, they're a point and click kind of game, which I think is the best form for a episodic game because they're a storytelling game. That's why they're called Telltale.
Yeah, but I'm just if we're gonna compare these episodic quote unquote games and how they can be melded into a Final Fantasy aspect, I think if they took it the Wolf Among Us direction and not the Walking Dead Telltale direction is the point that I'm trying to make. Is that if you play the Wolf Among Us, the way that game is laid out, I could see a Final Fantasy type game being placed into that kind of environment better than the Walking Dead Telltale environment. So I think that it really just depends on how they do it.
That's the thing. I'm going to stress that more than Mitch is stressing it. It really does depend on how they do it because in Final Fantasy is a big game. I mean, it's a AAA title. It's a big game.
7 in general, because Final Fantasy, there's all these different games, and each one has a different story. Each one is completely different. Like 13 is nothing like 7. You're going to play 7 and love it. Trust me. And 13 is just utter garbage in my opinion. But, right, 7 in general, I just don't understand how they can chop it up and expect each episode to be a full game.
It depends
on
how they release the episodes, though. It really depends on how they release
it.
You're
right. I mean, if they go and add,
right,
if they go and add new areas, new things to do, add more to the story, I guess I can see it.
Here's where
full game.
Here's where I can understand it. The way that Telltale does it with their games is they release one episode a month. That I don't think would work with Final Fantasy. I think it would work if they did it once a week. That I could buy. That I could definitely buy, but again, it also depends on how the mechanics hold up and how they split up the story.
And there is also one more thing. I don't know if it's going to be exactly episodic because one thing, the original Japanese developer, when they brought out the news, they said multi-part series. And I don't really know what the difference between that and episodic is, but episodic is what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
They really said multi-part series, which could mean it could come in 3 parts.
And now here's what it could do, because Mitch, you didn't play through Metal Gear Solid 5 all the way, but Metal Gear Solid 5 is a complete game all the way through, but it's a multiple part game. There's part 1, there's part 2, there's part 3. Now part 3 wasn't actually released.
It's not going to come on all in one disc. That they did confirm.
So are they selling all of them individually, or do you buy like
I said, they pulled out. They said a multi-part series.
So they're probably going to sell all of them individually to make more money.
I do get the feeling they're going to try to do that, but I think the only reason they're even touching that with the 10-foot pole is the fact that it's Final Fantasy VII. There's going to be a lot of people that after it's all said and done, after Final Fantasy VII is fully released with all of its parts, they're going to be super pissed. They're never going to trust Square Enix again with remaking another game like maybe Final Fantasy VIII or 9 or 10 or 6.
But they'll just be like, fuck you.
They're still going to buy them.
They'll be like, fuck you, we have all your money.
I don't care if they release it. I'm going to buy it. I don't care if they release it in 20 different parts for $60 each. Guess what? I'm buying it. That's how much I love this game. I can run over there and grab my PlayStation 1 right now.
If you do it in the best way possible, though, if your marketing is actually if your marketing, your mechanics, everything about how you develop your game, it fits with how the audience wants it, your next game is going to make an exponential amount of money. Now, here's the thing. The reason I can explain that is the Hobbit and Unexpected Journey. Now, this is a movie, but we're talking about an episodic video game. The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey was the highest grossing Hobbit film by $600 million, I believe, or 400, 600, somewhere in that range. And it's also the second highest grossing Middle-earth movie. Now, because Unexpected Journey actually disappointed a lot of fans, the next movie, which was Desolation of Smaug, was a much, much better movie. It would have made so much more money if people had trusted it People didn't trust it, even though it got so far superior reviews.
That's because the first one in that series was so weird, and there's so much odd, like, I don't even know if you can call them like comedical bits.
It was dry humor.
There was just like the whole scene with like the whole weird like riddle scene where they're like doing the stupid riddles to each other.
That I love. That was in the book.
It was a sweet scene to me, but the way it was done was so uncomfortable to watch.
That's Gollum for you. That's just no. That was the one scene in the movie where you're right. It is weird, but that's because it's Gollum. That, in my opinion, was like shot for shot, word for word, so perfect to the book. The parts that were weird was Radagast the Brown. That I thought could go.
The one bone I have to pick, I think it's in that first one, if I remember correctly, and you'll probably remember it, Matt. But do you remember the part where they're going down the rapids and they cut to like a shitty GoPro?
Yeah. No, that was Desolation of Smaug.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, what the fuck?
There's a part where like they're going through and there's like this really high quality like high production quality cameras, like really fucking nice, and then they cut to like this really shitty GoPro that somebody's probably holding going down like a fucking rapids. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a movie.
I saw that movie and I don't know what you're talking about, but
I
might probably have to watch it.
It's one shot in the entire movie.
But it's so out of place that like if you're really paying attention, you'll notice it. The stupid thing I've seen is, remember in the newer
Transformers?
Yeah, where they had the two different cameras, so every time they cut to it. You knew every time that
changed aspect ratio, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Like if you watch that in the theaters, you could tell because like the ratio would change. It would go from like really like tall and like really narrow, and
and then it would go to like really slim and wide. And
I don't know what Michael Bay was doing. He used two very different cameras, and you could tell the whole time.
That's because they were probably not paying attention when they were editing the movie. But they were probably using different lenses.
It's a pretty legit editing error there.
No, because probably what they were using is anamorphic lenses and then some regular cinematic type lenses, and also the fact that they were using an IMAX camera. Age of Extinction was the first movie ever to be filmed on an IMAX camera, so that also could be part of it as well.
But it was just so annoying to watch because it'd be like cut, new camera, cut, different camera, every single cut.
I was like,
a different shot, and it got really annoying. But this is a little tangent off the episodic. Have you ever heard of the game called the Dino Hunters, Matt?
The what game?
Yeah, it's called the Dino Hunters. Came out in 2006. It's probably, you have to watch some of the videos from it. It's probably the funniest episodic game I've ever seen in my life. It's a first-person shooter game, supported completely by advertisements that are inside of the game. Like you can run around and there'll be ads for companies inside the games. But back to Final Fantasy VII. I think once we hear more about it, because you made the point that maybe it isn't episodic, maybe it's just multiple parts that have been, it's been broken up. So if that's the case, then that won't be as bad. If it is episodic, I still don't think it'll be that bad. It just really, really, really depends on how they go about making it. And also, if they do make it multiple parts, hopefully they don't charge you for every part. Because
they also said that part of the reason why is because they want it to come out soon. Like they want us to play it soon, and not in 4 or 5 years.
So they want to get the first part in your hands sooner. Give you some of the
Final Fantasy VII is very large for its time. Of course, there are much bigger games now, which is why I can't understand why they can't remake the game and put it all in one disc. But I'm not going to get into that too much here.
Because they want your money, Eugene. They want you to give them all your money. So
they're going to get it. They're going to get it.
So even if they fuck it up, they still have all your money. And they'll be like, see ya, and they'll disappear into the darkness.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll somehow get another Final Fantasy game, and then you'll be pissed off about it again.
Yeah, there is Final Fantasy 15. That's all one game. They didn't break that up.
So
it's just 7. It's just 7.
Probably because the hype around it, they'll be able to make a bunch of money, is what they think.
Well, they'll make quite a bit of money. So what else here? Star Wars.
The Force Awakens. We have arrived.
Yep. All right. This
minus
is
7 days.
It's Darth Plagueis. It's Darth Plagueis.
Snoke is Plagueis. I was really hoping to be Jar Jar Binks, just so we can piss off Jacob.
No, dude, it's Darth Plagueis. It's the Emperor's.
Yeah, I know.
It's the Emperor's master. I'm so I was so right. I was
I
like,
heard Kylo Ren was actually Jar Jar.
I would laugh so hard. Snoke is actually Jar Jar. Yeah, Darth Jar Jar, guys. It's true.
Misa Bombard the Sith. Misa kill you.
Misa no like the crunching.
Misa step in the poodoo.
All right, so have you guys been spoiled yet? I know there's quite a bit of spoilers out there.
No. I mean, I watch the trailers all the time, and the biggest spoiler I've seen so far is the fact that Darth Plagueis is officially. It's not officially, but there's no denying it is Darth Plagueis.
Which is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to see how they make him. Hopefully, he takes his helmet off. I want to see his face.
Who, Darth Plagueis?
Well, it's Adam Driver.
No. That's Kylo Ren. Darth Plagueis is Snoke.
Oh.
He's Andy Serkis.
Oh, is he? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That'll be. I wonder if they'll show his face.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis never really shows his face in the movie.
Yeah. No, but Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, actually, he does take off his helmet at some points in the movie.
Yeah, we saw the back of his head in the trailer.
Well, not only the back of his head, but like last year they released a photo, a cinematic shot from the set where he's walking in the snow and he doesn't have his helmet on. So it's already been announced for quite a while. It was like only one shot ever released. Everything else we've seen of Kylo Ren is with him and his helmet on. But we have seen shots without.
And there's still no Mark Hamill really. But didn't J.J. Abrams talk about why there was no Mark Hamill yet?
He said that there's a good reason.
That's all he said.
Yeah.
There's a good reason why we haven't showed you Mark Hamill's busted up face yet.
Harrison Ford said the same thing as well. He said there's a pretty good reason. He wouldn't say anything, of course.
Yeah, and it's really weird because if you know Harrison Ford as an actor and you know how he's been also marketing Star Wars, I mean, it gives you a really good indicator that this is a good movie because normally he does not give a shit about promoting his movies ever. Any movie he's in, he'll just talk about it, but he never outright says, "Hey, this is a good movie." He never says, "Hey, go see it."
He also wasn't too enthusiastic on playing Han Solo again.
Honestly, I don't think he likes the Han Solo character, but
he wanted Han Solo to die actually.
And the fact that he is speaking so much about this movie, I think, says that it's probably going to be a very good movie, seeing as he doesn't really like that character much, which I think is weird because that kind of made the whole fucking dude's life. So I don't understand why he hates the character that made him.
I have a really good feeling that he might bite it in this movie.
I get that feeling. The more I watch the trailers and just the way that he delivers his lines and stuff, I just feel like it's not going to be a good ending for him.
I don't know. If
you actually know
that he's going to be in the next film,
if you actually,
be a new trilogy.
Dude, if you actually know the reason, one of the reasons that Empire Strikes Back, the reason it's ending is the way it is because Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to die in that movie, and they needed to have the ending of the movie kind of like that because they didn't know if Harrison Ford was going to return for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, they didn't know if he was going to come back. They didn't sign him on for the next movie.
But he was just like, oh, wait, money, you'll give me a lot of it. Okay, sure.
Yeah, basically.
Honestly, Harrison Ford as an actor, if he never really did Star Wars, he wouldn't have been what he was. I mean, he was in, like, Apocalypse Now for, like, the fucking, 10-minute cameo he had, but dude wouldn't have been shit without Han Solo, so I don't know why he shits on it so much.
He was also in American Graffiti, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know too much of Harrison Ford's earlier movies.
He was in Apocalypse. He was in Apocalypse Now, like the first 20 minutes. He's not a big character. He's like kind of off in the corner, and he has a couple lines that he gives, and you see him in the background, but he's not a very big character in that movie. But that was one of his first big movies that he was in.
Yeah. I'm not really sure, but I do think that there are four characters up on the chopping block right now, and I think Harrison Ford, Han Solo, is the number one pick. I think for me the second pick would be Leia, third would be Chewbacca, and then 4 would be Finn. I think that all 4 of those are really reasonable for being characters that die by the end of The Force Awakens.
I know that Finn, his actor is signed on for the next movie. Same thing with Rey.
I'm not sure about that though. I'm not sure. I'm not
And
too
I
sure
also
about
heard
that.
that Harrison Ford was signed on for the next movie.
Possibly, but there's a lot. If you know J.J. Abrams as a director, he lies about a lot of shit. He lies about a lot of shit, and he does it purposefully as a marketing tactic
You're like
to keep his
Nintendo, they
movie.
just lie to
He
your face.
no, because he likes to keep it as a surprise. I mean, he only ever lies about shit like that if it's going to be like something that's a pleasant surprise. Like if he's not going to lie about something that's going to end up turning out to be shit because that'll make him look out to be a shitty director. But like, if you remember when Star Trek Into Darkness was,
It's a sweet movie.
yeah, when that movie was being marketed, they kept saying that Benedict Cumberbatch is playing some other character, and it turns out he's actually
He's playing Khan!
Turns out he's playing Khan, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, is he playing Khan?" And he just kept saying, "No, he's playing blah blah blah." And then it turns out, "Oh, he's Khan." I'm like, "What? Oh, I didn't see that coming."
That's my favorite movie from the original Star Trek movies, is The Wrath of Khan. Such a great movie.
I thought the movie was good, but I like.
The funniest part is when like when the beetle comes out of his ear and like they put like ketchup on the ground and it looks so shitty. Like the effects they use in that movie look so shit.
Basically.
Practical effects.
Yeah, but it's such a great movie. Just when he's like, Khan! It's so great.
Kang!
All right, so I did want to ask, have you guys played the new Star Wars Battlefront map, Battle of Jakku?
No, I haven't played it yet.
I haven't played it because the way they handled it was fucking stupid. Like if you can get you could get a week early access, but I think now it's already been a week, so I could probably go play it. But you could get a week early access if you pre-ordered it. I don't know if it's through GameStop or through all retailers, but you get like a code in your box in the game container, whatever you want to call it. You enter in that code, and that gives you the ability to download it. To play it though, there's a separate code that came on a receipt that they printed for you the night that you got it, and I threw that receipt away the night of. So I didn't think I'd need it again because nobody ever told me. So the way they handled it was really stupid. So I never got to play it, but I know Jacob played it, and it's it's more than just one map. They added a couple maps in the pack, and then they added a few different like game types with it as well. It's pretty good. And they also, with this new one, they changed the way the game plays. Like before, when a match started, you could just run right into it. But now there's a timer, so everybody can load in. Because before, you could just drop in whenever you wanted to, so other people could drop in and start playing, and you could drop in later. But now there's a wait time before everybody comes in. So that's one big difference they changed to the game.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'm not too interested in playing Battlefront anymore. Like, it's a game that I can play every once in a while for maybe a few minutes, but I'm completely disinterested in it now. And I don't plan on playing Battle of Jakku because it still feels like there's a lack of content there, and we didn't get anything with it that I really liked. Not to mention that the Battle of Jakku takes place during or after, like immediately, like a year after the original trilogy, and I was kind of hoping for maybe something that takes place with Force Awakens.
Maybe
Like I knew about this.
You're
They
gonna
might
get
release
that
something later on.
man. Gotta get that $50 season
I don't
pass.
know. I don't know. Like,
They'll probably do it after the movie comes out.
maybe, possibly, and if they do, it'll be like early. It'll be like early 2016, so we're not going to
Probably
be getting anything
springtime.
immediately. Yeah, and
It actually
work,
probably depends on how this movie does.
right, and where I work, we just got in. I worked where I worked department last night. We got in our shipment of Disney Infinity figures for The Force Awakens, and I mean, we got a shit ton. Like, I'm not even joking. We got maybe 4-5 boxes. I mean, about like this big, filled to the brim with those figures. So we have a surplus, a mega surplus of those. They're gonna sell like hotcakes.
Like hotcakes.
Like hotcakes.
Like hotcakes.
They're gonna sell like hotcakes.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, guys, get out your Bibles. This is part 2. This is where we're going to recite some scripture. If you open up to Matthew 19:6, the Lord shall not have sex with any chickens unless they consent, and there will be no pudding until the act is done. All right. Have a blessed night, guys.
Okie dokie. This has been the Beef Brigade Gamers Podcast number 6.
All right. And don't forget to check out Beef Brigade Studios' YouTube channel. There has been a lack of content on there for about a week and a half right now.
Just like Star Wars Battlefront. Excuse me.
Yeah, basically. And the reason is because I just recently got a new TV, and I can't seem to get my capture card to work correctly with it. It's not playing out sound, so I don't really want to be playing a game with no sound and then
gotta fix those bugs, Matthew. Can't release a broken game.
And I've been lazy because I have finals coming up, and I've been studying and doing stuff. So once the semester ends, there'll be stuff up. I'm doing a Banjo-Kazooie playthrough, so look out for that.
And I'm gonna be
putting up just random stuff too.
Right, and I'm gonna be continuing my my KOTOR playthrough. But anyway, this is Matthew signing off. See you guys later. Thank you for watching.
All right, it's been AceTechHD. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. See you guys later.
Yeah.